There is only one corner of the universe you can be certain of improving, and that's your own self. Experience is not what happens to you, it's what you do with what happens to you. Technological progress has merely provided us with more efficient means for going backwards. Facts do not cease to exist because they are ignored. An intellectual is a person who's found one thing that's more interesting than sex. The more powerful and original a mind, the more it will incline towards the religion of solitude. Everyone who wants to do good to the human race always ends in universal bullying. There's only one effectively redemptive sacrifice, the sacrifice of self-will to make room for the knowledge of God. The worst enemy of life, freedom, and the common decencies is total anarchy. Their second worst enemy is total efficiency. The charm of history and its enigmatic lesson consist in the fact that, from age to age, nothing changes and yet everything is completely different. One of the great attractions of patriotism, it fulfills our worst wishes. In the person of our nation we are able, vicariously, to bully and cheat. Bully and cheat, what's more, with a feeling that we are profoundly virtuous. Consistency is contrary to nature, contrary to life. The only completely consistent people are dead. Most ignorance is vincible ignorance. We don't know because we don't want to know. Idealism is the noble toga that political gentlemen drape over their will to power. Men do not learn much from the lessons of history, and that is the most important of all the lessons of history. Every man's memory is his private literature. A fanatic is a man who consciously overcompensates a secret doubt. The secret of genius is to carry the spirit of the child into old age, which means never losing your enthusiasm. There are things known and there are things unknown, and in between are the doors of perception. That men do not learn very much from the lessons of history is the most important of all the lessons of history. You shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you mad. Dream in a pragmatic way. The most valuable of all education is the ability to make yourself do the thing you have to do, when it has to be done, whether you like it or not. Experience teaches only the teachable. My fate cannot be mastered, it can only be collaborated with and thereby, to some extent, directed. Nor am I the captain of my soul, I am only its noisiest passenger. There isn't any formula or method. You learn to love by loving, by paying attention and doing what one thereby discovers has to be done. The propagandist's purpose is to make one set of people forget that certain other sets of people are human. Cynical realism is the intelligent man's best excuse for doing nothing in an intolerable situation. Every man who knows how to read has it in his power to magnify himself, to multiply the ways in which he exists, to make his life full, significant, and interesting. People intoxicate themselves with work so they won't see how they really are. Speed, it seems to me, provides the one genuinely modern pleasure. I'm afraid of losing my obscurity. Genuineness only thrives in the dark. Like celery. An unexciting truth may be eclipsed by a thrilling lie. What is absurd and monstrous about war is that men who have no personal quarrel should be trained to murder one another in cold blood. Man approaches the unattainable truth through a succession of errors. We are all geniuses up to the age of 10. There is no substitute for talent. Industry and all its virtues are of no avail. Several excuses are always less convincing than one. Uncontrolled, the hunger and thirst after God may become an obstacle, cutting off the soul from what it desires. If a man would travel far along the mystic road, he must learn to desire God intensely but in stillness, passively and yet with all his heart and mind and strength. My father considered a walk among the mountains as the equivalent of church-going. Sons have always a rebellious wish to be disillusioned by that which charmed their fathers. After silence, that which comes nearest to expressing the inexpressible is music. Maybe this world is another planet's hell. It is a bit embarrassing to have been concerned with the human problem all one's life and find at the end that one has no more to offer by way of advice than, try to be a little kinder. Beauty is worse than wine, it intoxicates both the holder and beholder. To travel is to discover that everyone is wrong about other countries. To his dog, every man is Napoleon, hence the constant popularity of dogs. A childlike man is not a man whose development has been arrested, on the contrary, he is a man who has given himself a chance of continuing to develop long after most adults have muffled themselves in the cocoon of middle-aged habit and convention. Great is truth, but still greater, from a practical point of view, is silence about truth. By simply not mentioning certain subjects, totalitarian propagandists have influenced opinion much more effectively than they could have by the most eloquent denunciations. Hell isn't merely paved with good intentions, it's walled and roofed with them. Yes, and furnished too. Perhaps it's good for one to suffer. Can an artist do anything if he's happy? Would he ever want to do anything? What is art, after all, but a protest against the horrible inclemency of life? God isn't compatible with machinery and scientific medicine and universal happiness. You must make your choice. Our civilization has chosen machinery and medicine and happiness. Most human beings have an almost infinite capacity for taking things for granted. All gods are homemade, and it is we who pull their strings, and so, give them the power to pull ours. Like every man of sense and good feeling, I abominate work. A belief in hell and the knowledge that every ambition is doomed to frustration at the hands of a skeleton have never prevented the majority of human beings from behaving as though death were no more than an unfounded rumor. Chastity, the most unnatural of all the sexual perversions. A democracy which makes or even effectively prepares for modern, scientific war must necessarily cease to be democratic. No country can be really well prepared for modern war unless it is governed by a tyrant, at the head of a highly trained and perfectly obedient bureaucracy. Speed provides the one genuinely modern pleasure. Children are remarkable for their intelligence and ardor, for their curiosity, their intolerance of shams, the clarity and ruthlessness of their vision.